This is the lesson 10 pre-writing for the writing assignment. You'll be writing a comparison contrast paragraph, and we'll be comparing both of the articles that we read this time. One that was Liz's memoir, Breaking Night, and then the third person article that was written about her, From Homeless to Harvard. So first thing we want to do is look at the prompt. So the writing prompt says, read the prompt and identify the topic, directions, and purpose for writing. Often writers present factual information in a different way. In this unit, we read Liz Murray's first-hand account of her life as well as a second-hand account of her life written by someone else. How is Liz's life portrayed in each? Consider the way Liz perceives what is normal and the way Liz was treated by her parents. Write a paragraph that compares the portrayal of both topics in the excerpt from Breaking Night and the passage from Homeless to Harvard. Consider how the information provided differs from one to the other. Include examples from texts in your comparison, and use transition words as you move from one point to another. So the first thing we want to do is break down from that, what is the topic that we'll be writing about. And as we look at that, in both articles, and the purpose of the topic is to write about Liz Murray's life. And then the directions, if we look at this, it says, write a paragraph that compares the portrayal of both topics. I think I'm going to see if it'll just let me copy that. Yay, okay. And then the purpose for writing is, let me see what part would be considered the purpose for writing. Okay, so consider how information provided differs from one text to the other. And then we need to include, that's more of the directions, include examples from the text. Okay, so I'm going to put this information down here, and then we need to include examples from the text and use transition words as part of the directions. Okay, so that makes it really small because it has to fit in there, but examples from texts and use transition words. Okay, so that gives us some good, that helps us break down the prompt and make it usable. So then the first thing we want to consider is our topic sentence. So we'll need to have something that brings out the idea that we are looking at the things that are the same and that are different. So I want you to actually, well, I've got a basic idea that we could work with. Basically just talking about how Liz's life, let's say Liz Murray's life is portrayed as, and I'm just going to leave a blank here, we'll fill it out, as blank in both texts. So we need to make sure that we're saying what's going to be the same, and then we need to talk about the things that are different. So then we can say, this is a great use for a semicolon and a conjunctive adverb. However, there are subtle differences in the way the same situations are portrayed. So that gives us the opening to be able to deal with the similarities and the differences. So the next step will be to look back into the text, and you've got on page 226 in your workbook, you've got a Venn diagram. Because it's the wrong direction, I've got it set up in a different place. So let's jump over here.
Okay.
And you have...
Now, in order for me to hear you...
Okay, so here we are with a Venn diagram. So if you look at that,
and
we can look at the situation with Liz, and we know that some of the things that are the same And I'm going to let you spend some time thinking about this too, but I'll get you started out. So in both situations, in both Breaking Night and From Homeless to Harvard, it was a challenging, difficult childhood, right? Childhood. I think the parents focus on drug addiction.
Which is okay.
Focus on drugs.
Oh, perfect. So, what I will do is the
attention
students, they'll see this when they
from
come
the
in,
kids.
and I'm going to change
And,
this
and
to,
so I want you to think of some more. But in Breaking Night,
to this screen
we
here.
had the feeling
they'll
that
see-
Liz loved
Holy cow.
watching
Anyway, I'll have it worked out.
For the Mailman
Let's do that real quick.
and keeping track of the people in line
I hope my internet stays up.
for her mom, and so on. So I'm going to let you think of some more. And then From Homeless to Harvard, it
Yeah, we're just
points
carrying
out
on.
that she was
Nothing
forced
going wrong.
to watch For the
So-
Mailman.
Are you just talking in the room?
Let me see.
Yeah, I don't think you need to be on your phone because we turned off your
To
phone.
watch For the Mailman. And then maybe point out that they,
Because I hung up from our phone.
it mentions there, it didn't mention
Okay,
it
so I
before,
will be
filthy
able to
living
hear,
conditions.
but when
So
the kids get
spend a
really
little bit of time,
noisy,
discuss it with
it's gonna be
your
difficult,
partner
so
or,
we'll just work through it.
or with the group, and see if you can come up with
so
3
they
or
will
4
see
things
this.
for each
We'll
section.
have this up
I want you
when
to
the kids come
pause
in the room.
the
Second,
video
third, and fourth hour,
and complete the Venn diagram.
and they'll know what to
And
do.
then when you've got at least 3 ideas in each of the sections,
With my,
each section,
then
then start it up again.
let's just kind of look at this on what we're
Okay,
supposed
so
to do.
hopefully you've got at least 3 ideas or more in
And it's
each
kind of fun.
section.
They
And
will
so
work
here's
through,
what the one I had from the examples in the
so
book.
they,
So
a few of them are doing their
you can
research,
take
the
a little
others are
bit of
doing
time and look at
engineering.
that. So she loved watching For the Mailman. She enjoyed time
And
in
the
line
kids
with
like
her
helping
mom.
each other, and I
The
encourage
parents
that.
gave attention to the kids. Liz was happy.
And just to show you what
they
they're
went to the movies as a
building
family. They ate Happy Meals. From
That
Homeless
tried
to
to beat me.
Harvard, the parents neglected and mistreated her. She was forced to
Which, you
watch
know,
For the
that's gonna be
Mailman
fun.
and stand in line. They had filthy living conditions.
So this is the
Was
plane that
ashamed
they've
of
got
her
to try and
appearance
beat
and her
right
hygiene.
now.
And then in both, it shows that it was challenging, it was difficult,
they're
the
just
parents were addicted to
playing with
drugs,
the
and there was
software
not much food
and
in both
Making
situations.
these planes.
Or in both articles, it talks about that. So, once
It's
you
just a lot
have
of
a
fun.
good, if you want to add any of these to your notes, do that. And then we need to think about our topic sentence. We already started a little
fun.
bit of it, but let's look back. Here's an example topic sentence, and I want to point out the important parts, okay? So, the presentation of Liz Murray's life as challenging and difficult is consistent in both texts, so that brings in our similarities. However, there are subtle differences regarding the severity of the situation between the 2 versions. Now, you can use
Yeah.
that as a starting point and just reword it, figure out
so
how
the
to make
kids,
it your own, and think
They
through how
are
you
going
want
to enter
that to
into
be.
competition like this.
So then once you have the
And the top 10 right now looks like you have
your
some that have been
topic
playing
sentence
over the
written
weekend.
down, pause the video and get that done. Then
Ruth
the
is really
next
trying
part,
hard.
if we
She did
look
a great
back
job.
at the
She beat me
workbook,
once, so
okay, is to write your
the
concluding
kids
sentence.
can just choose planes to
So
fly.
there are some possibilities you can include
It's
as a result,
kinda like
in
a video
summary,
game.
consequently, to start
I'm
out.
going to change the
Again,
rules
I'll
on
pull
Wednesday.
up the example
I'll
I
have to
have.
start
So
over.
here's a sample concluding sentence. In
But,
closing, though the challenges
they're
and
kind of
difficulties
aware
of
that that's
Liz's
gonna
life are
happen, so-
apparent in both texts, Liz Murray's
That's-
presentation of the
that's for my
events is
first
more
class,
loving and sympathetic than the
my
author from
computer
Homeless
science
to
class.
Harvard. So there's a
They
good
know exactly what
concluding
they should be
sentence
doing.
starting point. You
Some
can
of them have chose
rework that
play
to make it
games
your
that's on
own.
their own head.
And then
I
go
would just
ahead and
remind
go
them
through your
that they should be
paragraph.
working on stuff.
I've got a sample
Um,
paragraph to show you, and I want to just
And they
point
just
out the
take down their
different
name,
parts. So
don't make any
first
show
of
it.
all, we have our topic
Um,
sentence.
But this
And
was
then it's
computer
going to go
science,
through and talk about
and they're
the
working
differences.
on their scratch story
So here it
project.
says, in Breaking Night, Liz
Due
Murray
on
uses words
the-
like treasured
due
ritual,
tomorrow,
joy, and
we'll
sense of
present on
importance when she
Wednesday.
describes watching for the mailman and waiting line at the
And if
check
they get done
cashing
with that
store.
today, they should be
And then in
working on these
comparison,
other
it says from
subjects.
homeless to Harvard, however, and there's a transition word,
But they're
states that
pretty
she was
much,
forced to participate in happenings instead of
self-paced,
innocently playing
self-guided,
with other children. The reader
kind of
is left to
hands-off.
believe that Liz would have rather
And
played
I'll
with
be
children,
around
though there's
here
no
online,
indication
so
of
if
this
they
in
need
Breaking
help,
Night.
I can
From
help them.
Homeless to Harvard also mentions another idea, the neglect and mistreatment
So,
given by Liz's parents. While
thanks for
Liz
taking
does say
my
that her
classes.
parents
I'm
spent money
sorry
on
that,
drugs instead of food in Breaking Night,
Not
she
just math.
indicates that her parents spoke kindly to her and spent a great deal of time with her on check cashing day. So we've got really two major differences they're talking about as we compare, and then we have our concluding statement. In
okay.
closing,
That's just
though the
fine.
challenges and
I've got plenty
difficulties of
taking
Liz's
kids in
life
my
are
classes
apparent
if
in
you ever
both
need any
texts,
help.
Liz Murray's presentation of events is more loving and sympathetic
Okay, so it
than the
looks like we're set to
presentation
go.
from the author
I will
of
chime
Homeless
back
to
in.
Harvard. So there's a good
You can leave this
example.
up and
Make
running.
it your own. You
Um,
decide how you want to
but I
include
will,
the things. The assignment is in
stop my video
Canvas.
and mute
If you'll
myself.
go ahead and
Um,
log in
If
there
you need any help,
to write
just
it,
chime
make
in.
sure you
I've got my headset on.
you revise and
And
edit.
then,
Make sure you check for
I'm just right here,
punctuation,
so
capitalization,
any questions,
sentence
let me know.
structure, all of those wonderful traits.
Thank you.
Thanks,
See you in
bye.
about 40.